So there's already a ton of videos out there talking about the downfall of Depop, and I suppose this video is going to add to the sea of content that already exists on this topic. But the difference is that this isn't going to be a rant on the downfall of Depop. It's going to be based on a recent trend that I've noticed in secondhand fashion shopping, and it's the shift away from traditional platforms and the move towards live stream shopping. So this is something that I have noticed recently, and this whole video is based on a recent written feature that I've been working on, and it's going to talk about the rise and fall of Depop and where sellers are going now and why they are going to live stream shopping. So that is what I want to talk about today. So to start, we first have to talk about the initial rise of Depop. So Depop was launched in 2011, and originally it was a way for readers of Pig magazine to buy featured items. So Depop's founder Simon Beckerman, who also co-founded Pig, saw the opportunity to create a platform where users could not only buy products featured in the magazine, but also sell their own items as well. And this transformed Depop into the first of its kind global peer-to-peer marketplace. And something else that's important to note when thinking about this initial rise of Depop is that it rose in parallel to the rise of social media. So this is really when Instagram first started taking off, and it's also when early fashion bloggers first started gaining followers on Instagram. So if you think about early influencers like Chiara Ferrani or Pandora Sykes, they started gaining followers for their white borders, their hyper-saturated filters, their art tip monkeys, Lana Del Rey reposts, and of course American Apparel everything. And basically at this time, early bloggers didn't have to disclose if they were gifted products from brands. So in some ways this could be described as the Wild West of influencer marketing, because ads didn't have to be disclosed, they didn't have to say if something was gifted, and these early fashion bloggers were just being sent so many clothes that they didn't know what to do with them. So they started using Depop to do these huge dumps on their pages that their followers could then go to Depop and interact with them and buy. And it was really this thing that took off so much because it just was so natural for Gen Zers who were following people on Instagram to then transition over to Depop and kind of jump between the two. Then if you fast forward a few years, another shift takes place in terms of Depop's evolution, and this is because more people had realized the money-making potential of Depop. So it had transformed from a place for just personal sellers to a fully fledged marketplace full of small fashion businesses. So it was people selling things like rhinestone studded baby tees, trippy mesh tops, Ed Hardy graphics, flared jeans, gingham bandanas, juicy couture tracksuits, and they all looked like they'd been lifted from a early 2000s music video, to be honest. And the fact that Depop was attracting all of these buyers and sellers who had the shared interest of thrifting and also Y2K aesthetics, combined with the fact that the whole platform was really set up as a social media site, really created this sense of community. And in some ways it became more than just about secondhand selling. It really became a cultural moment and a cultural identity to be part of this Depop community and also the Depop aesthetic. And in that way, this whole time between 2017 and 2020 was really a cultural moment when it came to Depop and secondhand selling generally. So with all of this, how was it that Depop did go from being the go-to fashion marketplace to Gen Z now saying that Depop is dead? So the biggest thing that we have to talk about, and the biggest reason for the downfall of Depop, was Etsy's acquisition of Depop in 2021 for $1.6 billion. And on paper, this acquisition made sense because Etsy wanted to reach the Gen Z audience and they wanted to still give Depop a lot of creative control, but because they were already so tapped into Gen Z, it just felt like a very natural partnership and acquisition in a way. But in practice, this completely shifted Depop's vibe, and the app went from being community driven to profit driven. And personally, I think that people started to find it ironic that a platform that was built on anti-capitalism and anti-fast fashion started mimicking the worst parts of that. And while Depop stumbled at this time, competitors like Vinted started to slowly become the go-to. So unlike Depop, which increasingly prioritized curated aesthetics, youth, and influencer culture as well, Vinted positioned itself as a practical, no-frills platform focused on second-hand fashion at accessible prices. But now there is obviously a new trend in second-hand fashion selling that we have seen recently crop up in 2025, and it means that not even Vinted is safe in terms of the reselling fashion market, and it's the trend of live stream shopping, and particularly the app Tilt is the one that I've noticed a lot of small fashion sellers and kind of niche micro influencers jump on first. This is sellers like Daughter of a Hoarder or Isabella Vrana, like I said, and also Vivian Tang as well. These are all people that I watch on YouTube or just on social media and also love their second-hand shops as well. And they've all started pioneering Tilt and this new way of second-hand selling. So in this video, Isabella Vrana shares that she was selling on Depop for 10 years, but in the last 6 months she has switched to Tilt, and she says that she's been making up to £15 a minute during her live sales, which is absolutely insane. And Vivian Tang also echoes this enthusiasm on her YouTube channel as well. So she says that she's been selling on Tilt for the past couple of months and that she really thinks it makes her life easier as a seller because she's able to be way more productive in terms of running her business. And it's just really interesting to see these small sellers really pioneer this new way of shopping. So Tilt was founded by two ex-Revolut employees and it raised about $18 million in 2024 to build this real-time shopping app that was going to be focused on live fashion sales. And in a TechCrunch article, one of the founders commented that unlike many failed Western attempts to copy Chinese live shopping apps, Tilt's success comes from targeting the right market, which is, of course, Gen Z. He says this market is used to unique experiences from things like gaming or Twitch streams, so fashion was just a natural fit and they think they've really cracked the code. And the first reason why I think it's doing so well is because of the community effect and also the parasocial relationship power. And this idea of using parasocial relationships with influencers and micro influencers to get consumers to actually consume more and buy more is something that Katie Robinson talks about a lot on her YouTube channel and within her content. And I think this is a really interesting and fascinating idea because obviously micro influencers really do have this deep relationship with their audience, and they've actually been said to push the most product and have the most impact on sales if they say something's good or they say that they use something. And this is because their audience truly does trust their opinion. So Isabella Vrana says in this video that for me it's like I'm FaceTiming the girls twice a week. We talk about clothes, people buy stuff, and then when it ends people are like, see you next week, and honestly it's such a pleasure. And she says that it is this interaction between the buyers and the sellers which makes it so fun. And also Vivian Tang commented a similar thing. So she says that it's a great way to come and have a chat and that it's so nice to speak to people in the comments. And she also says that it is just like a cute little comforting catch-up session every single week, and she loves it because of that. And obviously it is nice that the micro influencers and the sellers that are using Tilt are really enjoying this aspect of the app. But I personally think that it is this interaction and the fact that consumers are getting even more access to their favorite micro influencers that is truly the reason that live stream shopping is blowing up. And I honestly do think that this is something that the founders of Tilt are very aware of and that they're playing into. I think they really understand the power of a micro influencer, and they understand how kind of fiercely loyal their audiences are and how much that they trust their favorite micro influencers and how much they want to have even more access and the opportunity to literally have a FaceTime with them each week and buy their clothes is a very thrilling concept for Gen Zers and people who truly are fans of these specific creators. Again, on a similar vein, another reason why I think live stream shopping is just generally doing so well at the moment is because this is just how Gen Z is used to shopping and interacting with e-commerce. So many Gen Zers are obviously used to shopping through Instagram or TikTok, and live stream shopping is just kind of the next evolution of e-commerce because it's more interactive, it's in real time, and you get a bit more of a personalized experience. Essentially, live streaming just is the new opportunity to fuse culture, community, and commerce, and it really is a thrilling space to watch and a true potential game changer for both sellers and buyers alike. So we can end this video by thinking about what is coming next in the fashion resale landscape, and I do think the biggest thing that we're going to see is just the continuation of growth in live stream shopping, and I think we're only going to see more small sellers jump on this trend and more people shop in this way as well. And equally, I do also think we're going to see the rise of in-person resale events. So this could be things like fashion swap events or also yard sales as well. I know that we recently saw Vogue, I believe, do their yard sale, and I think we could see more and more people and more small sellers do this as well. If you also think about this idea of parasocial relationships, it would make sense for niche and micro influencers to also host in-person events where people can shop their personal wardrobes, meet them in person, and I do think this is kind of the natural next step to live streaming, or something that could fit in well to live streaming. And as well, I do also want to say that even though so many people are saying that Depop is dead and Depop is over, it still is a thriving business, and it's still a business and a brand that is aiming to grow a lot. And particularly, I do think it wants to grow a lot in the US, and it wants to grow through in-person events. So I read this really interesting article which was in Vogue, and it was with the CEO of Depop, and I believe it was from last year, but it basically outlines all of the ways that Depop intends to grow in the upcoming months and years. So if you are interested in reading that and seeing what Depop has in store for us, then I definitely recommend this article. But that was really everything that I wanted to talk about today. I am really intrigued to hear your thoughts on live streaming, and particularly I want to hear if you would shop for fashion in this way. As always, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I would love if you left a comment, if you subscribed, or you want to message me on Instagram. I would love to chat to you there as well. So until the next one, I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.